I will say that there was no mention whatsoever at Amazon about Joe Biden's inflation. And the fact is that we got to 40-year highs. Inflation measured by the Consumer Price Index was up 9.1%. We all remember we were at the cash register. Everything cost so much more. So, why they're putting a little bug now, this is because of the tariffs, and they didn't put a little bug, this is because of the $7 trillion spent by the Democrats under Joe Biden, is a question.
Yeah. Is the administration talking to Beijing specifically about tariffs or not?
Well, we're not going to talk about who's talking to whom, but I think
Scott Bessent here is about to explain what I explained on previous videos weeks ago, months ago, as I was trying to break down the likely outcome of tariffs outside of the mainstream media trying to create mass panic and hysteria over really a nothing burger, although it is pretty large in its impact. And yeah, companies, businesses, of course, social media influencers will take to TikTok and complain and cry about how Trump is ruining their business and increasing their costs and yada, 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 so on and so forth. But as I told you guys before, these companies are still going to turn record profits. Don't get me wrong. And why not take advantage of an opportunity? Nothing draws a crowd like a crowd. Making money in a crisis versus because of a crisis. But this is how it works. This is how the game is played. This is something that I try to teach folks as I'm getting them started on making YouTube channels, making money online, building businesses, side businesses, passive income streams, working from home, working remotely, taking control of their financial situation and building wealth, relieving themselves of the grind, or better yet, not even giving two fucks about inflation. And if you can't handle the word fuck, shit, damn, balls, any of that, then I don't know how you're going to survive in this world, because I will drop some F-bombs here and there, but it is what it is. I'm just being honest. I'm being real, being myself, and I'm telling you guys the truth. And the truth is that in a business scenario, which is why President Trump is so effective, which is why he caught my attention when he first ran for president, and why I vote for him in addition to many, many other reasons, is because he knows how to run businesses. And not only does he know how to run businesses, but he also has a team of people around him who know how to run businesses as well, Pete Hegseth aside. However, in a situation like this, where you have buyers and sellers, you have the businesses and the consumers. If the buyers and the consumers no longer purchase from the businesses have to analyze and ultimately figure out why. And then when they discover the problem, they have to fix it. And why would anyone stop buying from, let's just say, for instance, China? Well, it's not because, they're trying to take over, and maybe perhaps the Democrats had a lot to do with that, and Biden himself. That's besides the point. It's because their price is too high. The only reason why people were really buying from China to begin with is because their price was so low. It was so cheap because we were doing things here and making things here in this country all along. And then, it's cheaper to do it in China. So they did. Well, now it's not. So they just quit buying from China. So China either can quit and give up, which you'll see is not really an option, or they can lower their price, which is what the tariffs will do. And essentially, the tariffs will then force China to remove their tariffs off of U.S. products and create fair trade, free trade, really. In a capitalist society in which CCP doesn't actually operate in that way. So there's that. It's, survival of the fittest. This is about competition, but it's not necessarily competitive when one side already has an advantage because of a tariff. So Trump just leveled the playing field. They can either deal with it and go out of business, or they can begin to negotiate. Doesn't mean that even our prices have to go up. We don't have to experience inflation, as Jerome Powell wants to try and denote inflation versus Trump tariffs. The simple fact of the matter is that if a tariff increases the cost of a product by 40%, and let's just say a company was making a 200% profit, well, then lower your profit margin and still sell the product at the same price and people will still buy it. It's just that easy. It's just that simple. Or allow yourself to fall into a situation where competition is then created that will produce the product, if not the same or better, at a lower price, and then no one's going to want to deal with you after that. You'll miss your opportunity. Opportunity is huge. You got to strike while the iron is hot, and if you snooze, you lose. Speaking of losers, if you live in Chicago, you may be a loser. Not specifically, this isn't personal, but Lives of TikTok says, wow, Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, Democrat, is facing a $1.5 billion deficit. He blew over $600 million on migrants while the city was drowning, and now he's begging taxpayers for a bailout and pushing progressive revenue schemes. Senator Craig Wilcox, Republican from Illinois, nails it. Quote, taxpayers shouldn't bail out Chicago's financial mismanagement again, nor should the U.S. bail out China and be by way of a trade deficit. And deficits are not good, folks. That's inherently, by definition, deficit is not a good term here. Scott Bessent can explain it far better than I can.
That, over time, we will see that the Chinese tariffs are unsustainable for China. I've seen some very large numbers over the past few days that show if these numbers stay on, Chinese could lose 10 million jobs very quickly. And even if there is a drop in the tariffs, that they could lose 5 million jobs. So remember that we are the deficit country. They sell almost 5 times more goods to us than we sell to them. So the onus will be on them to take off these tariffs. They're unsustainable for them.
And they are saying you guys are not talking about it. So is that true?
Look, they have a different form of government. They're playing to a different audience. So I'm not going to get into the nitty-gritty, again, of who's talking to whom. But as I said, I believe for the Chinese, these tariffs are unsustainable.
And very quickly, 2 days ago, you said you didn't know if President Trump had spoken to Xi Jinping. Do you know now?
Again, I would say Caroline and I have a lot of jobs around the White House. Running the switchboard isn't one of them.
I think there's no other way to look at this first 100 days other than a huge success.
And I would agree. Huge success for the Trump administration, for us. Not so much for some corporate giants out there who make poor decisions, one after another. For instance, Amazon. Benny Johnson shared this one. He says Amazon's stock, after getting obliterated by the White House for announcing they will be displaying tariff prices next to products.
A perfect crystal clear demonstration that it's the American consumer and not China who is going to have to pay for these policies.
I will take this, since I just got off the phone with the president about Amazon's announcement. This is a hostile and political act by Amazon. Why didn't Amazon do this when the Biden administration hiked inflation to the highest level in 40 years? And I would also add that it's not a surprise because, as Reuters recently wrote, Amazon has partnered with a Chinese propaganda arm. So this is another reason why Americans should buy American. It's another reason why we are onshoring critical supply chains here at home to shore up our own critical supply chain and boost our own manufacturing here.
Is Jeff Bezos still a Trump supporter?
Look, I will not speak to the president's relationships with Jeff Bezos, but I will tell you that this is certainly a hostile and political action by Amazon. And Secretary, if you have anything.
Marilyn Kaplan left this comment just 2 minutes ago. Says, I'm done with Amazon. Canceling my Prime now. Eric Doherty shares how breaking update Amazon now says They're not putting the tariff adjustment disclaimer on their website products, LMAO. Amazon tells Washington Post, Bezos' own media outlet, conveniently that only Amazon Hall might put tariff charges on certain products. Quote, this was never a consideration for the main Amazon site, and nothing has been implemented on any Amazon properties. The website or the White House blasted Amazon this morning over the news that Amazon would move forward with this. And President Trump, Caroline Leavitt, you name it, they're not holding back. And, there's no love lost. There's, facts don't care about feelings, nor does business, nor does making America great again. So if it's Jeff Bezos, if it's Amazon, if it's Washington Post, WAPO, if it's Andy Jassy, it doesn't matter. There's a mandate and there's a man in charge. And that man is the leader of the free world, President Donald J. Trump himself.
Well, I think that's why all these conversations they're having with these countries is so vital. They need to roll out a couple of deals with a couple of our biggest allies. Even if everything else takes a long time, that would show the rest of the world, okay, the United States is here to make deals. We're here to do deals with our allies that are mutually beneficial, that put American workers at the center of our economic policy. But just the mere announcement of having done it, I would think, would calm things down. Regarding this idea that he runs the world, this phrase was coined, I think, in 1948. The President of the United States is the leader of the free world. And you look at all the things he's involved in, economically, trying to solve the war in Ukraine, stuff going on in the Middle East. There is no doubt that he, Donald Trump, as the president, is the leader of the free world, and we ought to all be rooting for his success. But I do think the secret sauce here is showing people that progress can be made in short order. And it sounds like things are on deck.
I know what you're talking about in terms of the polling and the approval rating, but look at the president's two top issues, immigration and inflation.
Immigration being tougher on it. The idea of patience and there being a method to the madness, or the order of which they went about these arrests. Is Trump at risk for losing some credibility and capital in this particular arena?
I don't think so. I have a different point of view. I actually think it's still their best issue. And I think when it all shakes out, what are they going to be able to say? Donald Trump effectively closed the southern border just by taking office and changing the attitude of the federal government. They have deported lots of violent criminals. And frankly, they are sending a different message than the previous administration. The old way was, hey, just get here and we'll find a way and it'll probably work out for you. The new message is, don't come here. Please don't come here. And now people know that we mean it. When it all shakes out, I think we're going to find that Donald Trump inherited the biggest mess of all was on immigration. He had the biggest cleanup job to do on it, and he ultimately did what he had to do to bring order to it. So I still think it's their best issue. I still think they're going to lean into it, and obviously it's the issue that motivated his campaign way back in 2015 in the first place, and he stuck with it all the way through. I still think it's their number one issue.
Border crossings are down 99%. I spoke with President Trump on Sunday. He told me 3 people were apprehended at the border in the month of April, compared with 248,000 in the month last year, 1 year ago. That's the, migration and immigration story. Now let's take a look at inflation. You and I talked about eggs a long time ago. The price of eggs are down 50%. Look at where mortgage rates are down. Look at oil prices are down. So when you take a look at what President Trump said that he was going to do, it is a huge success in terms of these first 100 days.